At Dragonstone, Queen Daenerys is getting ready for battle. She decides that she's not going to wait any longer to see how the outcome turns out, especially after reading the scroll that the palace visionary has sitting on the table stating that Aegon VI Targaryen was Daenerys' other nephew. She puts on the body armor and has her assistant and bodyguard get them fastened up around her. Then she puts on her dragon helm. The next thing is her shoulder protectors, followed by her blood red cape. Then she takes the Valyrian steel sword, the Queen's Justice, and holsters it. Next comes in the Palace Visionary. And Your Grace, yes, I was just curious what you think you're doing. I am getting ready for battle. I can see that. Do you really think you're going to beat this Valdar, the Darklord Valdarr? No, but I am going to make sure, after reading the scroll that you had sitting on the table, that if I have another nephew, I'm not going to let him be totally slaughtered or defeated either. You know you can't win this one. There's only a certain tool that can be done, and a certain fire goddess and her brother, whom she's reunited with, the many-faced god, possess those tools. No one can defeat Valdar. Well, then I'm going to certainly try. You could get yourself killed. She kind of looks at the Palace Visionary with a slight grin. Well, it wouldn't be the first time, but at least this time it'll be on my terms. Well, I wish you well, Your Grace. I do believe that in the end, I will see you again. So with that, she continues, walks over, picks up her shield and a special jousting rod for those who are dragon riders. Then she looks towards the Palace Visionary. I hope that we will see each other again, but I believe my destiny is that I need to give the upper hand, because while Aegon VI may have many forces, even with his best friend, he cannot beat an entire legion by himself. I think that's where my new dragons will come in handy. I agree. Yes, I will be here waiting for you. So without a further word, he bows humbly as she gets on her white dragon and then takes off. In King's Landing, former King Brandon Stark, because he gave up his crown willingly, even though he never wore it, as led and carried by Brianna Tarth and some other knights of the King's Guard down to the lower level to be placed in a formation type carriage or whatever they have available to make sure he gets home safely to Winterfell. And so in this scene, it shows everybody marching out of King's Landing, departing the Red Keep once and for all, as per the agreement to Queen Daenerys, before the war with the Darklord Valdarr had begun. Sam Tarly, the maester, and his wife, Gilly, and the Queen's cousin, as well as Tyrion Lannister, watch as the master of ships, who is now retired, boards a sailing vessel and then takes off. They watch as the ship finally makes its way through the citadel and disappears out to sea. Well, I guess that's it. That just leaves us. So when are we going to be heading to Castle Black? Since you said that they do need a maester out there. Well, I suppose it'll be as soon as Queen Daenerys makes her appearance here and inspects everything. If this new Iron Throne exists, I would imagine it's going to be delivered first. Well, I shall oversee everything to make sure nobody tries to start pillaging or anything. Yes, well, your assistance is appreciated, but I do have last orders from King Brandon. Apparently, those who were known as men without banners, he decided that they should get a raise in pay, and perhaps if they accept the position, they can be the new city watch. At least they won't be without coin. Well, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Yes, if I do say so myself. And then he takes a sip of wine. So, I guess then, all we do is wait. So who is delivering this throne? Well, Tyrion sets the goblet down. From what I understand, it is going to be Queen Yara Greyjoy. I guess apparently she was left in charge for having a new one remade. Well, this ought to be interesting to see what this one shall look like. Yeah, I wonder how long that will last. Well, as long as nobody attacks the castle, I guess it'll last for some time. It won't hold the value as the original by Aegon the Conqueror, but who knows? Maybe it could last several hundred or 1,000 years or so. Yes, indeed, until the next White Walker War. That sounds like a great plan. Everybody starts laughing about that, but Tyrion doesn't seem to think it's very funny. And so, thus ends the scene of most of the committee members and King Brandon having vacated the Red Keep and King's Landing. On the battlefield, the wyverns, showing as a dark cloud, finally show up in a large, mighty force, led by one that is the largest of all, apparently the leader, and they start attacking the siege weapons. Aegon quickly gives orders for everybody to take cover, and some of his men are even killed by being grasped by the wyverns, if not bitten, though they do not throw flames, and start killing the men as well as tearing the siege weapons apart. However, as that's going on, Valdar is still attacking with his siege weapons, until suddenly, lo and behold, comes 3 dragons, and Daenerys' old dragon, Drogon, and its mate, sees Daenerys, and she calls out to him, and with a definitive signal by Drogon, a mass flock of dragons suddenly show up. Queen Daenerys lands in a cloud of dust on her white dragon and then dismounts. Aegon VI, seeing that it's his hand, rides up and then dismounts his horse and kneels before her. Your Grace, I am Aegon VI of his name, Targaryen. Although you may have trouble believing it, and unfortunately there's not much time for me to go over how it is I am alive, but your elder brother, Prince Rhaegar, and his wife and princess, Ellaria Martell, was my father and mother. I believe your palace visionary, when we had crossed paths, I had him take down the history in case something happens and I'm not able to catch up as to how I grew up and survived. You are my uncle, or my nephew. Well, sorry. We shall see. I have read the scroll. And you're right, there's no time to be wasting right now on reunions. But you may rise. If I may speak freely, Your Grace. Yes, you may. You are my aunt, and I am your nephew. So it would seem we seem to have the same hair color. Yours is more like my brother, Viserys, who I once knew. But you seem pleasant enough. So what is going on? Well, we were attacked by wyverns, and as you can see, we're taking cover because some of the men got killed, and most of our siege weapons are now destroyed. Well, you haven't seen anything yet. Prince Aegon VI, my nephew, an old friend of mine, Drogon, and its mate, has arrived with reinforcements of his kind. And so with nothing more said, she looks towards the direction of the incoming dragon versus wyvern battle that takes place. During the last musical scene, the wyverns usually have to attack one dragon 2 or 3 at a time to bring one down. So the damage or loss to dragons is very minimal, 2, maybe 3 at most. Whereas the dragons, especially wild dragons, led by the mate of Drogon, are able to snap at necks or wings, and quite a few of them slam down to the ground, killing most of the Legion of Doom as they're being crushed under the tonage. The leader, unfortunately, makes the mistake of trying to challenge Drogon, but Drogon, being a dragon, casts fire on its side, then dives in for the kill, but misses as the wyvern leader nods its head over to the right, but catches a sharp tooth of Drogon, putting a gash on the side of its left cheek. Seeing how it's outmaneuvered and being now injured, the leader decides that it's had enough and sounds a call on all the wyverns, and the leader head back down south beyond the known world, beyond Sutheros, and thus ends the Dragon War. In the meantime, Valdar, seeing all this having taken place, makes a fist and shakes it, not very happy with the situation. Then he looks over and sees a strange person in armor and comes to realize it is a Targaryen female. Oh, just what I thought. Always interfering where you don't belong. What is this? A dead queen coming to battle? You should have stayed dead. Well, let me help you get back there. Queen Daenerys. My lord, are you okay? Never mind me. Scout, send the horns. We're gonna send in half our legion. Let's give them something to a real challenge. Yes, my lord. And so with that, the horn sounds. At the sound of the horn, a thunderous sound and the ground vibrating starts going in a rhythmic type motion. Half these dark figured pikers, riders, and others with special weapons start moving forward. Aegon VI notices what's going on, and suddenly, even though nobody can hardly hear what he's saying, they understand what his commands are, and starts having people regroup to put up a defense. About that time, Gendry decides then he's stood by long enough, and he groups his 2 companies together, and they then ride forward to give support to Aegon VI. As they get into position, Lord Gendry and Prince Aegon look at each other, though Gendry hasn't forgotten how he snuck in and took the fort, but they both nod at each other in a gentlemanlike way, because, as the old saying goes, is the enemy of my enemy my friend or my enemy? So which case, they have the same enemy, because they have to defend the known world to prevent Darklord Valdarr, the Vizier, taking over, to accomplishing his first agenda before he tries to raise a sunken metal ship to pursue the prophecy of a dark blue star that will one day shine in the Valyrian night sky. So, 2 companies led by their leaders take place and stand by Prince Aegon VI's best friend, Edric Baratheon, and Edric and Gendry seem to have a slight grin at each other, considering that they mutually understand now's a good time to fight side by side instead of against each other. And so this ends the scene as they prepare for the largest mass movement of half of a legion moving towards them, even though some of Darklord Valdarr's forces were crushed by falling dead dragons and mostly dead wyverns. Half his siege weapons were destroyed, whereas Aegon now has none. At Castle Black, at the wall of the Brothers of the Night's Watch, the gates are open as they are unexpectedly not prepared for Frey's riding in. Jon Snow sees them from the balcony and greets them kind of somewhat in a way that not to wonder too sure as to whether they're there to cause problems. I wouldn't shoot those arrows because I have plenty of men that'll shoot back. You have a lot of gall showing up here. Well, I am not here to cause problems. I am here to receive the dead. The dead. 4 that went into a place called Castle of the Damned. Perhaps you've heard of it. Have you not been to investigate when a Frey ran past your wall that was not yet fully repaired yet? Aye, he did, and I still have yet to repay him. Well, he's getting his payment already by being confined to the castle, and he'll be lucky if he isn't banished if the problem of what he described comes upon the kingdom of Frey. Jon Snow then gives a signal for everybody to lower their weapons, as does Theo. So, you think this is going to be enough to protect you and your men? You may find out, from what we understand, that there's nothing you can do to defeat it. Well, I certainly doubt it, whatever it is not going to be here. I would imagine it has some type of agenda. As I traveled here, I've been hearing many rumors of how it swaths destruction and is on its way, most likely, to the direction of the Narrow Sea. The question is that everybody should be asking is, why? Very well, I'm not risking any of the brothers here. We've already seen inside that place, and it looks cursed. Well, that is why it's called the Castle of the Damned, because those that were cursed, long before Castle Black even existed, were sent there, since the time before the Valyrian Doom. Well, you're going to need to find your way there, because I imagine you have not been beyond the wall, nor found Castle Black. Black Bernard here will be your guide. I take it there won't be any treachery on your part. No, nor on yours. As long as we understand each other, he is to be returned safely, as he has going to be your leader, to that area. But do not expect him to go inside. We've already been inside. I only need to know where I need to get to the trail that is safest for us to go down and retrieve the bodies. That's all I need. Very well, then. Best of luck to you. You may need it. So, with that, then, Jon Snow gives a signal and they raise the gates. Are you sure about this, Jon Snow? I mean, yeah, Lord Commander. Since when do we start trusting Freys? Yeah, I thought they were supposed to be like the enemy or something, since this thing called the Red Wedding. Well, and then there is that one situation, if you don't remember. Someone wearing the face of a serving girl had slaughtered most of the Freys that were of the Red Wedding. Oh, right. And they never did figure out who that was. Well, what I hear is that there was a witness, but she was advised by this one who wore a face of whoever killed most of the Freys for their part in the Red Wedding, and she has never been found. Do you think that something happened to her? Like, maybe they found out she became like a traitor and they killed her? Highly unlikely. I bet you that she's living a good life. Most likely, like most other kingdoms should. Instead of poking their nose where they don't belong. I would have to agree with that. Well, you can just settle down, guys. Besides, if they wanted to start something, they already would have. Best thing we could do is see if they return. If not, well, they were warned, and it's not our problem. So Jon Snow goes back to his office. Well, I guess we'll watch from the top of the ball then, and see if they ever return. And so that's what they do. They go up top, just in time to see the Freys come out the other end and head towards the direction of where the Castle of the Dam is at. Well, what do we have here? A fire goddess. Is this not true? The one that used to be the apprentice appointed by our Lord Valdar. Lilith looks over to her left suddenly, surprising to see her there. And how did you get past the lines? Oh, I have my ways. Besides, they say you're supposed to be the one who's supposed to be strong in your powers of foresight, present, and hindsight. And yet you failed to serve our Lord, so now I am just about to be a goddess of the darkness, and your light will be extinguished. I see. And you must be the foolish one who has learned nothing. Obviously, you too shall lose your life and your soul. Are you sure that you really would want to engage this one? I think she's a waste of time. Oh, don't worry. I don't think that she's that stupid enough to try to challenge me. After all, she's not a goddess yet. She is still somewhat mortal. Well, we'll just have to see about that, won't we, Lilith? And unexpectedly, pulls out a dagger real quick and slices right at Lilith, catching her off guard. This angers Lilith. Well, are you going to just stand there, or are you going to take my challenge? Then Lilith kind of has a slight grin. This will be the end of your days, and you are no goddess. You're not even half a goddess yet. You could have been, but apparently you're one, from what I sense, that don't listen to your Dark Lord. And now this shall be your demise, and I shall rid the world of you. And then the scene changes. From a distance, while Lilith is about to engage hand-to-hand combat with the sorceress of Valdar, the many-faced god notices that there's two collaborations of houses coming together at a far distant area. Queen Marjorie and some of the men that are loyal to her with her commander come up to a certain spot, meeting up with then the like she's waiting for somebody. Valdar happens to notice this, and then as Valdar also is watching, the Martells then show up. The Martells then gather together, and although nothing can be heard, a meeting has taken place between them. And so both Valdar and the many-faced god witness what has taken place. This being quite the spectacle now, though they're not at the front line yet, but they are off ways back at a safe distance. Martell flourishes its banners, as does House Tyrell, and Queen Daenerys decides to welcome the allies. Well, I see that two queens here have decided to join in. Well, we may not have had a chance to fight in the White Walker War, since I was in a collapsed Great Septa Baylor, and I was locked in a tower. But together, I believe we have one mutual agreement. We must defeat evil now, and if we are to die, then it shall be on our terms, in the glory of standing against evil. Well, then you have made the right choice. Let us fight together, then. I'm sure we have gotten the Dark Lord's attention by now. Oh, I see. The game's afoot. Well, two could play that game. House Tyrell and Martell. Really, how foolish and ridiculous. Blood cow. Yes, my lord. Sound the horn. Send half the Legion. Wipe out the Martells and Tyrells. No reinforcements for the Targaryen prince, Aegon VI. Let him die with all the rest. Suddenly, the ground starts trembling as half of a legion, though some were killed by being crushed under two dead dragons, mostly dead wyvern, during the dragon battle, starts vibrating the ground aggressively. And with this, the forces band together, mostly heavy cavalry and heavy horsemen, start coming together and coming towards the reinforcements that are a ways back behind Aegon's forces, and to push and mow down Aegon VI. Queen Daenerys then notices that there's some unusual movement beyond the line of Aegon VI Targaryen, her nephew and prince. What is this? It looks like he's trying to reroute Aegon to annihilate him and come after the reinforcements here. I better go and let Queen Marjorie and Queen Ariana of Martell and Tyrell know this. I may have to enter into battle myself with my dragons. Grey Worm, I want you to set up a blockade, allowing only Prince Aegon to come through. Yes, my queen. He may have to not necessarily retreat, but to fall back. There's no way he's going to take on half a legion. Yes, my queen, we will have blockade prepared. So with that, then, she goes towards her white dragon, Rainragon. In the meantime, Prince Aegon, seeing what's going on, gives a signal for falling back because this has taken him by surprise. So, in which case, then all the forces start moving, and the archers prepare to send wave after wave of arrows as half the legion marches forward. In the meantime, Lilith has to face off the sorceress, so unfortunately her situation is being delayed or stalled. And in the meantime, this then comes to the end of the scene as it reaches the climax to the near end of the battle. After hearing a second horn blast from Darklord Valdarr, Grey Worm then has the Unsullied take formation to set up a blockade, ready to allow Aegon VI to regroup behind them by falling back with all whatever is left of his forces. So, in the meantime, Valdar then gives a final horn blast for all of the Legion to march forward. Let them flee! The battle is going to be ours. There's nowhere for them to run. Push forward. Leave none alive.